How's it going, my truant people? Dr.Slaking, the Slaking Doctor, back with week 12 of the APA Academy. This is the final week, so if you guys have enjoyed this season, it's been all over the place. It's been a bit of a mess. Please leave a like, leave a comment, and all that good stuff, because this season's been pretty tough. But yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I really do. Second Wi-Fi league on the channel, and being a part of this community has just been a tremendous joy for me. This week, your Bowland Bovines are going up against Rewt and his New Jersey Brobats, and I couldn't think of anyone better to end the season against, because Rewt is someone that I've been a big fan of for about a year now. Someone whose YouTube channel I've watched pretty frequently since I was on holiday in Scotland last June or July. I started watching him. I remember quite clearly when I discovered his channel and stuff. So yeah, someone that I'm just a really big fan of. Definitely go check out his side of the battle. Now, obviously, going into this week, we've had a pretty poor record. I think we've lost 3 on the bounce, 3 or 4 on the bounce. I've been playing dire since I got this new draft, and I just haven't been playing well even before that. So yeah, we're in a bit of a tough spot. Basically, this week, if we win 6-0 and our nearest rival loses 6-0, we can make playoffs. It's not going to happen, but with that in mind, Rewt and I had a chat. I was, half thinking about memeing it and stuff, and even though we know that we're not going to make playoffs at this point, Rewt and I agreed that it would still be fun to have a good match against each other. And on a personal note, for me, being a fan of his, I thought it would be great to be able to watch his side of the battle if we had a good competitive game. So yeah, so I've built a proper team, we played the match properly and everything, and it actually was a really good match, so I definitely would recommend watching it, even though in the greater standings it doesn't mean too much. I still think there's things to be learned from this game for sure, and that's what this channel is all about. If you guys are relatively new here, you haven't been on the channel that super long, this channel, when I started doing competitive content, it wasn't a competitive channel, it was an LP channel and stuff. That's changed, but the reason I started doing competitive content was to learn, and to learn with my viewers, and that hasn't changed. That mission hasn't changed, even if sometimes I don't reiterate it or my videos aren't up to scratch on that front. I always want to try and be analytic. I always want to try and learn. Hopefully you guys can learn something too. So all that being said, if you want to skip ahead to team builder, then a timestamp will be appearing above my head. You can skip to the battle, but I would recommend watching this team builder, as we kind of built a team on my own here that I didn't test and stuff, so I don't have to do any thank yous, but it has a little bit more to it in terms of thinking than perhaps I've put into my teams recently. I think recently I've kind of lost sight of how I build my own teams, what it is that I like to have on a team, and this one very much went back to basics with me, went back to type, went back to my own style with this team. Instead of experimenting with different things or using other people's styles, this was very much a me team. So yeah, I would recommend watching that, but if you didn't want to, you've probably already skipped ahead by now anyway. So my opponent's team will be appearing above my head over there, and my opponent has on his team, for those of you on mobile that can't read it, however, Mega Gallade, Heatran, Greninja, Nidoqueen, Galvantula, Kyurem, Decidueye, Zygarde 10, Swellow, Aromatisse, and Regirock. Now, looking at that team, obviously Mega Gallade, Heatran, Greninja, Nidoqueen, all major threats. Galvantula setting webs up to support those threats, terrifying. Kyurem, really great mon. And then he has setup threats in like Decidueye, which is pretty scary. Aromatisse, which I don't think is the best setup threat, but could be pretty scary if positioned correctly. And Swellow as a breaker is pretty scary. And Zygarde arguably can Dragon Dance, even though it's only the 10% one. But even so, as a breaker, it's not too bad. So his team definitely has, like, this is one of the stronger drafts I think we've come up against this season. Like, the only one in here that I personally don't really rate that highly is Regirock, and I know Regirock can do a job, but every other mon in this team is a good pick, like is a great mon, really like fantastic draft in my opinion. So with that in mind, I had a look at it, and I actually thought that I found pretty good win con in this game. So we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about my game plan, why I built the sets that I did, and how I'm hoping that they'll work out. So first up on the team, we have Saving Light the Diancie. If you look at his team, all of his fairy resists, Heatran, Nidoqueen, and I think they're the only two, Heatran and Nidoqueen, right? Yeah. Both weak to ground. And this is always the danger when you take a steel and a poison type. You take a fire type too, but his Heatran obviously is combined into his fire and steel. And this is something I discovered in the IBLD League when I had Nihilego plus Heatran, is that fairy types can just run ground coverage and bop you. And Diancie is one of the best of those. So as you can see, we have the sub Earth Power set, because we can really chip things down. Now, Nidoqueen actually can take Earth Powers. It can take them, and if it's Sugar Berry, it can take them even better. But that's why we have the sub, because Nidoqueen does seem like a pretty good switch into me. If I can get 4 switches and get the sub up, I can Earth Power Nidoqueen twice from behind my sub potentially, or at least once if he's Sugar Berry, and get some damage off, and then the next time I can do it twice and KO him. So I think that Nidoqueen is going to be really pressured by this Mega Diancie set. And this bigger Diancie, I should point out, is max speed with 20 special attack. So a speed tie with Gallade, and I guarantee to do all of the Okos that I can Oko, and all of the 2-hit KOs that I can 2-hit KO with that 20 special attack investment. I do not need much at all. And then all the rest is slapped into HP. So this thing is pretty fat, it's pretty bulky, because I do think we might have to run the risk of a speed tie with Gallade. I've just got to go for it, right? But if I can make this thing really, really fat, then maybe I can take a hit from Gallade anyway, especially if he's like Drain Punch or something. So, then the second set to try and support that is going to be Tangrowth. It can come in really, really well on one of the biggest threats to Diancie, which is that Greninja, because we don't have a way of speed boosting. Greninja can come in Revenge Killers with Scald, Hydro Pump, Surf, whatever it may be. So Tangrowth is here to really safely pivot into that Revenge Killer to my Diancie, and the second Revenge Killer to my Diancie is that Zygarde 10, so I can kind of switch into both of those. This set did originally have Body Slam over Giga Drain that you can see there, but I couldn't figure out how to gen that properly, so I ended up running Giga Drain. I probably should have ran Poison Jab, which was my initial set that I had in this team, but in the heat of the moment when I was genning it, I was just like, oh, what do I need instead of Body Slam then? Go Giga Drain and get some recovery. I just wasn't really thinking. So yeah, with hindsight, I probably should have gone with Poison Jab there, but still, this set can, as I say, pivot into the Revenge Killers, specifically to Diancie, and do work. Third one on the team, Slowbro, Rocky Helmet. This thing can try and take on that Gallade. Like I say, it does bother me that I kind of speed tie with it. So if I don't want to run that risk, I can just go straight into Gallade. And with a bold and heavily invested in defense of Rocky Helmet, we will chew up hits from that Gallade, get some Rocky Helmet chip off on him. And then basically we have the T-Wave on there, because his best switch into something like a Psychic or a Shadow Ball might be Greninja. And if I can T-Wave that Greninja, then suddenly it's not a revenge threat to Diancie, and it's so much easier for my team to handle. So you can see here, like, I start off with Diancie that has a great matchup versus this team offensively, and then I bring in two defensive pivots, one that can neuter one of the major Revenge Killers to Diancie, and the other one that can switch into the two major Revenge Killers to Diancie. So you can kind of see, like, I started from basics. I just went, what has good offensive matchup? What two mons support that? Okay, now we're getting somewhere. Slack Off, of course, is on there for longevity. This is actually the first week I'm bringing Slowbro since Strongful drafted it for me, which is bizarre because it's someone I've used so much. But I don't know what's been going on with me the past few weeks in this league. I've just been playing terribly and building bad teams. So yeah, really, really excited to have South Beach Slowbro make a debut for this league on the channel. Next up, I wanted a way to try and bait that Nidoqueen, because if I can break that Nidoqueen, Diancie just goes crazy breaking through his team, but something else later in the build will really, really benefit from that Nidoqueen being broken, and that was already starting to go through my mind when I looked at Diancie and the monster it pressured. I was like, I have a bit of an idea for what could work with this team. So, we're bringing EMEL, the Salazzle. I think this was Black Sludge. I have it on my team builder as Sugarberry, but I have a feeling that I changed that last second when I genned it, and it's actually Black Sludge, but whatever is appearing on the screen for you guys is correct, because I haven't made the graphics yet. So if it shows Black Sludge next to it, it's Black Sludge in the battle. If it shows Sugarberry, it's Sugarberry. I can't quite remember. But basically, this thing is a sub-toxic set, because Nidoqueen seems like they telegraphed switch into this thing too, or maybe Heatran. And if I can get either of those put on a timer with Toxic and then sub-protect, 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 then those things are going to get chipped down so damn fast. And that could be really, really important for Diancie, because they both can potentially run Sugarberry and be baits for my Diancie, firing off Earth Flowers and Flash Cannons, things like that. Being able to really chip those down means that hopefully I can break them before Diancie ever comes in. I don't have to run that risk of potential Sugarberry sets. So that's the kind of thinking there. Of course, the sub does help me bait Sugarberry sets anyway, but something like Air Balloon Heatran's a possibility, and that would be obnoxious too. So yeah, I've kind of got something running on this team where I feel like this could really work to break through those two for Diancie. Then next up, I needed rocks on the team, I felt, because I wanted to wear down that Galvantula, I wanted to wear down that Kyurem, and I wanted to wear down that Swellow. So with that in mind, I decided to run Bronzong with rocks this week. This again is Custap Berry Explosion. I feel like on the more passive members of my team, Custap Berry Explosion is just phenomenal. I've been running out a lot in UPBA as well with Forretress, because it's just great to not lose a ton of offensive momentum, to not give things free subs, to not give things free setup, and it can just really come in useful sometimes to get yourself some offensive momentum. So this thing is specifically EV to be able to take Specs Boom Burst from Swellow and Oko with Gyro Ball. It's also going to hit Nidoqueen pretty hard with Quake, so that it's not just walled by Nidoqueen. I know that I could run like Psychic Stab for that, but it was more useful to run Quake so that I could hit the Tran as well if I wanted to take a hit from Tran. I have Levitate on here as well, so that I can take hits from potential Earth Power Nidoqueen, come in on that. And also, I'm not sure how 1000 Arrows worked, but I thought that maybe made me not weak to 1000 Arrows the first turn, only weak to it the second turn, so I could bop in with a Gyro Ball. I'm not entirely sure on that, but I think the first turn of 1000 Arrows smacks you down, the second turn does super effective damage if you're a Levitating Steel type, but don't quote me on that. And then obviously Stealth Rocks to get them up. And then the last one on the team, this is really why I wanted to bait that Nidoking specifically with Salazzle, is Outbreaker the ThunderT. And this is a Choice Scarf set modest, because this thing just goes through his team if I get rid of Nidoking. I know it seems weird on a team with 2 ground types, but I was so confident of getting those ground types sorted that I thought I could do this. For example, if I get DyeItTight behind a sub and KO something, Zygarde is probably going to be the mon he sacks to break my sub, right? I don't think he'll give me Greninja because it looks better on paper when I have a Slowbro and a Tangrowth. If Zygarde even comes when I have a Slowbro and a Tangrowth. So I think that he'll probably sack the Zygarde to break my sub, and then with Salazzle I think I can wear down that Nidoking, and once those two go, Thunderbolt rips his team apart. Kyurem is really the only other good resist that he has left. And that thing gets chipped down by rocks, so I am going to have to play carefully around the Kyurem if that does come, but if I can break that down too, then I think that this Scarf Thunder has a fantastic chance to just clean up in the late game. So, yeah, that's the team. Let me know what you think about it. Like I say, this team had a bit more thought in terms of, right, Diancie breaks, I know how to pivot around my breaker, Thunder cleans the things that Salazzle plus Diancie break. So I have like 2 breakers, 2 pivots, a rocker, and a cleaner. Very, very simple team archetype, just taking it back to basics because I'm in such poor form at the minute, just keeping it simple. So yeah, let's see how this team worked out and jump straight into battle, guys. So here we are in the battle, guys, and I forgot at the beginning of my video to shout out Lantern Joe for recording this battle as ever. His channel will be linked down in the description. I forgot to shout him out in my last UPBA battle as well, so my sincerest apologies to him. I don't know if he watches at all, but if he does, I apologize. That guy is an MVP. Please do check out his channel and show some love. But let's jump into this now and see what my man Rewt brought against me. So we can see the Galvantula, Nidoqueen, Zygarde, Kyurem, Aromatisse, and Greninja, and I'm looking at that, I'm like, okay, this looks like webs. Galvantula right at the front of the party there. It's like looks like a webs team. Potential offensive Kyurem, potential could be Trick Room Aromatisse maybe if it isn't webs. But yeah, certainly under like the fact that he brought the Zydog, which I really didn't expect to see, and the Nidoqueen, I'm like, oh, maybe this is like a webs offense. But definitely very scary team. If the Aromatisse is potential Calm Mind, then I can try and T-Wave it with Slowbro, or I can try and Toxic Hit with a Salazzle, because if it is something like Calm Mind, Trick Room, Nasty Plot, Trick Room, something like that, then I can... you know, maybe it won't have Heal Bell or anything like that. Also, if it is Calm Mind, my team is heavily special based, so I knew going into this that my team would struggle to break Spadef walls, and I would need to use Salazzle very, very carefully to do that, because obviously my main offensive threats in ThunderT and in Diancie are both very heavily special because I didn't bring that Diamond Storm. So yeah, with that in mind, looking at his team, I think the Nidoqueen or the Galvantula are pretty telegraphed leads against me, just because I think the potential, you know, wants to get rocks up, potential wants to get webs down, something like that. So with that in mind, I believe that I decided to lead off with my Bronzong, because for once, actually, my Hazard Setter leads really well against his 2 Hazard Setters, and it means that I can get rocks up, and I really value rocks in this game, I feel like, more than he does, because if I can get rocks up against that, Kyurem, that would be fantastic, because that's one of the things that I'm going to struggle to really bait in and break down for my win con in Thunder, so I really want to just get rocks up to chip it down as much as I possibly can. I could have left off with like Diancie, for example, to try and scare out rocks if he was rocks on this, to scare out Sticky Webs, but in case he was sashed, I didn't want to be like sash HP steal and him bot my Diancie or something like that. So instead we're just going to lead off with Odyssey, take that Thunder as he reveals he's actually a Life Orb, and get Stealth Rock. So for example, if I had led with Diancie, I maybe would have scared him out and got a free hit off, but and got my Mega Evolution off to get Magic Bounce up, but at the same time he didn't get Webs down, so that's really good because I don't have any defog on this team. So if he'd got Webs down, definitely would have been a problem. The one good thing is that Diancie is immune to Webs with Clear Body on the first turn it switches in until it Mega Evolves, and that this thing, my main win con, is immune to webs, so that wouldn't be the end of the world, but it certainly wouldn't be great. Here I pivot into Thunder because I'm like, okay, he's either gonna Bug Buzz or he's gonna Thunder again on Bronzong. I don't think he ever HP Ices on Bronzong there, and now predicting him to HP Ice, I'm just gonna pivot out again because I'm gonna U-turn out, sorry, because I know I'm fast in this, I'm Scarf, and I want to show him early game that I'm Scarf as well. I know that might seem weird, might be like, why don't you want to preserve that information? But one, I want to make sure I get momentum, and two, I want to be able to like scare him out all the time with that Thunder if I need to. I want to be able to bluff things with it, and knowing that he's going to go for a HP Ice there, I'm going to pivot into Salazzle. At worst, he would have gone for another Bug Buzz. He was never going for an electric move, so I can get in Salazzle here and really scare this thing out with the Flamethrower, and because of that, I believe I just click Sub, because it's a no drawback play just to get my Sub up here. If he goes for Bug Buzz, yes, that will go through my Sub, but I don't think he was ever going to stay in and click Bug Buzz when he has this Nidoqueen at full health in the back and he can keep a Life Orb Galvantula around, because Galvantula does hit my team pretty well. So with that in mind, I'm like, yeah, I think I can make the aggressive play and sub up, and that means that I can get this Toxic off on this Nidoqueen. And so now, what are we, turn 4? Yes, I've had to give him a little bit of HP on Bronzong and on my Thundy, but I've really got the thing that I wanted, Toxic to Toxic, so that's fantastic for me. Here he goes for the Earth Power to break my sub, and so it's putting him in a position where it's hard for him to get rocks up, because if I keep subbing up on him, eventually he's going to die, and I'm going to be behind a sub, and then something else is going to get Toxic. So it's really putting him in a difficult spot, I feel, where he probably wants to just keep Earth Powering on my substitute. I considered going for the Protect there, but I was like, he might go for Rocks this turn, predicting me to switch out, and I'll go for the free sub if I can get it. I don't feel like I need to burn Protect turns and get that passive recovery just yet. I'm still going to be able to get 2 subs up after this turn of Black Sludge. I did change it to Black Sludge, by the way. We discussed that in the team build if you watched. I couldn't remember if I changed it to Black Sludge or not. I did. So I'm like, okay, I don't need to go crazy about... he's actually leftovers on this as well. So I know he's not Sugarberry, which is really great information. And here, expecting him to want to Earth Power again, having seen that what I'm playing around at, I'm just going to go into Odyssey and make him take another turn of Toxic, of Poison essentially for free, and be able to keep my Salazzle at a really good range of health, so that I can come in and potentially have Rocks later in the game if I need to, and be able to Toxic something like the Aromatisse, for example. So I really felt like it was my best play to preserve Salazzle there. The only thing that I did kind of regret is that it did essentially give him his Rocks for free here, but I also kind of realized that this sort of baited him in to stay in and go for his Rocks, because this is like the best thing he can get Rocks up against. And that gives me this Earthquake, which is now a huge chip on this Nidoqueen with the Toxic stacking up. So I was like, is it worth exchanging, giving him free Rocks to bait him to get this chip off? And in the end game of my Thundy T cleaning with T-Bolt, I decided, yes, I think this is 100% worth this exchange. Thundy T doesn't have to come in 5 times this game. Maybe it just has to come in once, and that's the last 3-4 turns just to clean. So with that in mind, knowing that I'll outspeed all his team with that Scarf, as I was willing to let him have Rocks up there. And here I pivot out into South Beach on the Nidoqueen, so that I could take, you know, potential Fire Blast if he has it on the Nidoqueen, and not be too affected, and he'd die to poison this turn. But he actually decides to preserve the Nidoqueen. So here I'm just going to Scold, because I think this thing might be Heal Bell, and he wants to Heal Bell off the Toxic on Nidoqueen. And we actually burn, which initially seems good, but then he clicks Calm Minds, and I was like, I wish I hadn't burned, because I literally ran T-Wave on Slowbro so that I could try and T-Wave Calm Mind Aromatisse. And now if this thing is Wish Protect, Calm Mind Moonblast, yes, it's going to really struggle to break through Salazzle, but Salazzle can't do anything to it. It's just Flamethrower. I don't have Taunt. Unfortunately, I have Protect instead of Taunt. And yes, it's going to struggle to break through this Bronzong, but Bronzong's Gyro Ball does like 20% to Aromatisse, because Aromatisse is so damn slow. Like, it doesn't do a lot at all. So I was really looking at this like, I'm in kind of a bad spot here where I don't have particularly a lot to... Sorry, my phone is blowing up as I'm trying to listen to music. I don't have particularly a lot to hit this thing with. So I need to Scout if he has Protect. And I need to essentially go Boom on the right turn. After a Wish comes true, I need to go Boom as he wishes up the next time, then go out into my Tangrowth and collect Power Whip and land the Power Whip. Because Power Whip looks like it's going to do about 55% to this thing, maybe 45% depending on his investment. But it looks like maybe Boom into Power Whip with Burn that chip should do enough. Like, it should do enough. And it was right around this time of battle, actually quite appropriately for what I've just been talking about, that my phone rang, and I had to answer it when I'm not recording. Obviously, I'll answer my phone, I won't be rude. Well, it depends who's ringing me, let's be honest. But yeah, so I answered my phone during this stage of the battle. I wish I could speed this up, but in the player that I'm using, there's no settings to see. I don't know if you can see the settings, but there's no way to like speed it up, which is really annoying. But yeah, I basically just miscount the turns here. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. I miscount the turns and I go Boom on a turn where his Wish then comes true. And that was literally just because I was on the phone and I was like, oh, man. So that puts us in a really, really bad spot now, because suddenly I'm just relying on Tangrowth being able to 2-hit KO this thing with Burn Chip. So I'm like, man, that was so rough. Like, that was a horrible play, and it was just I mistimed it. Like, if I had gone Boom the turn earlier when he clicked Wish, that was when I wanted to go Boom. And then, because you can see how much this does and how much that Boom did, I think that would have KO'd him. So yeah, that was really my best chance to beat this thing, and now I'm like, okay, I'm crit fishing. Like, that's what I'm doing with Power Whip that isn't even 100% accurate, but I don't have anything else. I was like, is it worth knocking off to get rid of his leftovers? Is that going to help me here? And I was like, the problem is, I don't think it's going to do enough. Like, I think he's going to get too healthy, and I was like, maybe it's worth going for the knockoff. But I just Power Whip again here, and I'm like, I think the second I miss a Power Whip is when I have to go for knockoff. I don't know how much this Moonblast is going to do to me. I am AV bulky, so I will probably take a Moonblast even at +3 maybe. But yeah, I just feel like the second I go for the Moonblast is the second that he starts. So second I go for knockoff, second he starts Moonblasting me and I die. But he actually mistimes his wish there. So as you can see, he ends up really low, and I'm like, I don't think he has Protect. He hasn't clicked it yet. If this Power Whip lands, and the Power Whip does land, and it does pick up the KO, so he actually said that he got distracted as well by something during the battle, I think. So, like, I think that's what he said. So yeah, both of us just misplaying horribly around that Aromatisse. And on balance, it probably played out as if neither of us had got distracted, right? Because I think the explosion into Power Whip would have KO'd. I know he felt like it really aggrieved because he did just win the battle from that point. But like, yeah, we both kind of choked it away together, which is just quite funny, really. But it worked out well for me. Definitely counting my blessings there. But also cursing the fact that, you know, I got distracted at a pivotal moment. That's the problem with playing Wi-Fi and doing post-com, is that you can't, like, you do just get distracted. Like, my mum's always just walking in and chatting to me mid-game on Wi-Fi, and I'm there like, yeah, and she's like, what, you're playing a game? And I'm like, I'm really trying to concentrate though, this is important, and the timer's going so fast. It's not like Showdown, where you can just say to people, I'll be back in a second. I bring in EMEL here because I thought I would take that Ice Beam. I didn't calc it, but I was like, I'll take an Ice Beam. Nope. EMEL dies. It's fine though, because I still need my Tangrowth a lot more than I need my Salazzle, and this gets me Diancie in for free, and that was essentially what I was going to do anyway. I was just going to fire off another Toxic there and try and get Diancie in for free. So I can go for the sub here because I'm pretty confident he's not going to stay in when he has the Nidoqueen to sack in the back. It felt like when he didn't go for the Heal Bell on Aromatisse, it felt like he was really preserving this thing as a sack. So with that in mind, I can just go for the sub here, and because he's going to come in and I'm going to outspeed him, it means that I'm going to be behind my sub. So what we were talking about in the team builder, my idea for this team has worked out now absolutely perfectly, because I've Toxic the Nidoqueen and put it down low enough to where it comes in on Diancie subbing up, and it can't KO me, and I know it's slower than me because it's not Scarf, so I know it's not going to break my sub. So I now am behind a sub, and he has to go into either the Greninja or the Zygarde 10% to break my sub. And against my team with a Slowbro and a Tangrowth, I feel like the Zygarde is much, much less valuable to him. So suddenly those two ground types that I was talking about in the team builder that I thought I could pressure with this build, it's worked out superbly. My game plan has really come together here because the Zygarde is going to be the one that he chooses to sack in exchange for my substitute. And I can, like I say, I completely understand why, because it's harder for me to switch into Greninja, it's harder to deal with Greninja in general than it is for me to deal with this Zygarde. So for example, if he'd gone into Greninja there and clicked Scold, and I'd Moonblast him, Zygarde would have come out the next turn, I could have just gone into Tangrowth or Slowbro and taken nothing. So it really would have just been an absolute momentum drain for him. This is 100% his correct play. So now he's going to have to bring out the Greninja, and that gives me my Tangrowth essentially again. The Tangrowth is just here to check the Greninja now at this point. It's really done more than I expected it to, getting that KO on the Aromatisse, so that's absolutely fine. I can happily just go out into Tangrowth here and not worry too much. Troy Sr. can come out and hopefully put in some work. And he just goes for the Scold, of course, and if he burns, that would be bad, but I do have the Giga Drain on there just in case, which was the other reason that I like Giga Drain on the set, was because if he did burn, we weren't completely neutered. But like I say, I still, you know, in the team builder I mentioned about Poison Jab, now you see why on hindsight Poison Jab would have been, or in hindsight Poison Jab would have been a better bring, but nevertheless, he doesn't burn us, which is definitely fortuitous. And he's going to pivot out into Splice, as I believe I just fire off a Power Whip here. But he reveals that he is Life Orb Gren as well as Life Orb Galvantula. So that's great because it means he's not Scarf Gren, which means that he isn't going to outspeed my Thundy, which is amazing. Now, he could be Life Orb Water Shuriken, but it's worth noting that if he's Scold U-turn, I think he wants Dark Pulse for Slowbro. I don't think he wants a Greninja Wall by Slowbro. And I think he probably has Ice Beam for this Tangrowth. So I don't, unless he's already shown Ice Beam, I can't quite remember. So I don't think he has Water Shuriken for my Thundy. So that was fantastic information for me going forwards, because I was like, okay, that was the one thing once he got Rocks up for free and I took Chip on my Thundy that I was worried about in the late game was Water Shuriken. Especially with it being Life Orb, Water Shuriken can be quite strong. So here I can just go out into Slowbro. Slowbro really came to check the Mega Gallade, which isn't even here. so I feel like it's the least useful mon in this matchup. But he actually reveals the Roost here, and this thing's like fairly bulky, but I'm just going to fire off a Scold because I don't really know what he can do to me, as he reveals the Tech Signal Beam, which hits me really, really hard. It's a really good bring, and obviously I am Fizz Death, Rocky Helmet, so it does do a lot to me. And I fire off a Scold here, and we actually get a clutch burn. And I say that's a clutch burn because it means that you can't really get too healthy on me with Rocks plus Burn Chip. It is going to make a lot of like rolls in my favor. It's going to put him in a really difficult position. So definitely very, very grateful for that burn there, as he fires off an Ice Beam here, trying to predict me switching, I think. But I actually just stay in and go for the Psychic, because my end game now is to get this thing as low as possible. Before, I was concerned about potentially the Greninja coming in on a Psychic, and so Scold was the right play. But now that I know that the Greninja doesn't have Water Shuriken, I'm pretty sure, all I have to do is keep this thing low enough for Thundy, and I should win the game, right? T-Bolt should clean out the Greninja, it should clean out this thing if I can get it low enough, and it should clean out the Galvantula, how low that thing is after it's taken Rocks. In fact, it might even just be dead to Rocks, I'm not quite sure. I don't think it is quite dead to Rocks, but still. It puts me in a fantastic position where I know that if this thing is down to around 25% roughly, my Thundy T just wins the game. So all I have to do is keep Psykicking this thing until he kills me, and then once I get in my Diancie, I can force a KO and hopefully win this game. So he actually here... He's going to Ice Beam to KO me because I get the Spadef drop, which really sucks. I did definitely get the better RNG in this game in terms of landing all my Power Whips on the Aromatees, in terms of getting double burns with my Scold when he didn't get any burns. But as I say, my Tangrowth set wouldn't have been walled necessarily by getting burned. It would have done all the things it still continued to do. And yeah, it would have been fine. I believe I clicked Knockoff as well on this thing earlier in the battle, which I neglected to mention. I predicted this thing to come out and wanted to get rid of its leftovers, so I clicked Knockoff earlier in the battle. I don't think I mentioned that. And here we really come down to a fascinating turn. So I want to go through this properly, because this is very much getting into the end game now. Obviously, I sack Slowbro to get out my Diancie, and now, if you look at the teams, this is what I love about this layout, by the way. Shout out the ABA, because you can see what he has left. Here, if I Moonblast, that's game. If I Moonblast, that is game, because Thundy comes in and it clicks T-Bolt, and he stays with his Kyurem, and I KO the Kyurem. I come in and I click T-Bolt twice, I kill the Greninja, and I kill the Galvantula. It doesn't matter that Greninja can come in and Revenge Code Diancie with Scold, it's irrelevant. Thundy T just cleans the game, assuming he doesn't have Water Shuriken, which I don't think he does. Thundy T just cleans the game. So, at this point, I know that if I Moonblast and kill the Kyurem, I win the game. However, if he goes into the Galvantula and sacks it on my Moonblast, that gives him Greninja to come in and click Scold. I then have to pivot out into, say, Tangrowth. He could potentially burn me. If he then goes into Kyurem, I can potentially let that thing roost up to a range of health where I can't kill it. I then have to get back in Diancie, and maybe I can still win the end game there, but it definitely would be pretty difficult. So, if I sub here, and he switches and sacks the Galvantula, I basically guarantee to win the game, because he has to go into Greninja to break my sub with the Scold. I kill him with a Moonblast, then Kyurem comes in, and I kill him with another Moonblast. So I really thought long and hard about this, and I was like, what do I want to do here? And I was like, I think I'm going to sub, because I think that all I have to do is win this game with Thundy T, and all I have to do with the Kyurem is not KO it, but make sure that when it comes back in, it comes back in at 25% or less. So with that in mind, I was looking at his health on his Kyurem, and I was like, if he switches in on my Thundy T later in the game, he's going to take Rocks Chip, he's going to take Burn Chip, he's going to take all that good stuff. If he stays in here to break my sub, he's going to take another turn of Burn Chip, and hopefully it's going to put him below 50%. So I just want to we can see what health he was at here. If he stayed in to break my sub for the first turn, that would put him about, man, I can't quite get the right frame. I apologize. Yeah, if I get the Burn Chip here, that's going to put him at pretty much like bang on, like 52, 53, just over 50. And then I can sub again, because I have exactly 51. All I've done so far is taken 2 turns of Rocks and done 1 sub. So I have lost exactly 49% of my HP, because I started out with an odd HP stat. And this is the benefit of EVing your mons properly. So I know I can get 2 subs that cost me 20, they cost me whatever they cost me, I don't know, 75, half of 75, whatever that is. But yeah, I know I can get 2 subs guaranteed on this thing, and that means that he can't basically take 2 turns of Burn Chip before Thundy T could then KO him if he switched out. So if he stayed in twice, broke my sub twice, then sacked the Galvantula, when he came back in, he would take Rocks Chip and be in range of my Thundy T. That's what I thought, at least. So, with that in mind, I am just going to click the sub here, and as it happens, that is the play that's going to win us the game, because he does make the Galvantula sack, thinking that I would probably be forced into attacking him, and it was a really tough 50-50, but as I say, I feel like it wasn't a true 50-50 in my perspective, because I was like, okay, I don't think that subbing twice ever loses me this match. I think that it still, at the very least, forces his Kyurem to have to live a T-Bolt from my Thunder T, and if he is Water Shuriken on his Greninja, then we're going to find out now, and that could be pretty helpful too. So he actually goes into his Greninja here, and I don't believe that he has the Water Shuriken, like I said, and if he doesn't, that is just game. If he has the Water Shuriken, then yes, he will break my sub, and he will whatever, but I think if he had the Water Shuriken, this thing would have come out earlier instead of the Zygarde to revenge kill me, because it is Life Orb. So again, that was another crucial bit of information that was interesting earlier in the battle, because it's like, yeah, Life Orb would probably come out to break my sub and then do more hits with Water Shuriken rather than just sacking Zygarde. So we get the Moonblast off here, and we are going to win this game, I believe, 3-0. So GG to my man Rewt. That end game we spoke about in chat for ages after. Super nice guy. It was really fun talking through all the different scenarios that we could have gone through. And basically, as you can see here, he comes back in. 2 more turns of Burn Chip would have put him around here, and it actually would have been a roll with my Thunder T to KO him with T-Bolt there, or I would have gone for 2 Focus Blasts, which was the other possible endgame, and I could have won with 2 Focus Blasts, but it would have relied on me landing 2. So yeah, really interesting endgame scenario, or at least landing 1, sorry. So really interesting endgame scenario where maybe, you know, things could have been different. I could have come down to a Focus Blast landing or whatever, or could have come down to a damage roll with T-Bolt, but wow, what a game. Really fun game. The other potential end game would have been that I could have U-turned on him, and if he didn't click Roost, then I could have got that chip, sacked my Tangrowth, gone back into my Thundy and clicked something there. However, it was likely that Tangrowth probably lived one, and it just gave him a free Roost anyway, so I don't think that ever would have been a play I would have made, but it's worth discussing as another potential option. So yeah, GG. That was one of the best games we've had this season, in my opinion. Certainly on a personal note, building a team that was designed to chip down 2 ground types and clean up with the Scarf T-Bolter worked superbly well. That was, you know, what really won me that end game, having the confidence to click sub as he switched out. I know that Thunder T didn't actually get any KOs in this match, so it feels like the team didn't work, but it really did in essence. So yeah, definitely satisfying for me to get back to winning ways and just to play a little bit better, I guess. GG to my man Rewt. I thought he played superbly. That whole Aroma T debacle was just the 2 of us losing concentration and making bad plays ultimately, but it happens. That's part of Mons, and again, this was a game that meant nothing for him really, and nothing to me really. So we didn't make playoffs, needless to say. We didn't win a 6-0, and as it happened, our nearest playoff rival didn't lose. They won their game anyway, so we were never making playoffs regardless of anything else. But I am going to release some kind of season recap video, I think, where I'm just going to like sit down podcast style and talk about the format, talk about my experience this season, and reflect on a lot of things about Mons really, and the channel probably too. So if you want to check that out when that comes up, make sure you're subscribed to everything else. But yeah, thank you guys for all the support this season. This is the first time that we haven't made playoffs since the first league on the channel. I think we've made playoffs in every league that's been on the channel since the very first one. So yeah, massive. Oh no, the second one since Owl, the first season of Owl. So yeah, definitely my worst season on a personal note, on an individual note, and I can only apologise for that. But the support from you guys has still been phenomenal, so thank you for that. We will be bouncing back with the UBL very soon, so keep your eyes peeled for that. Thank you so much for looking around with me, guys, and I'll catch you again next time.